Mm-hmm.
Today's guest is from Martensville, Virginia, and played D tackle at Eastern. I was about to say Eastern Washington.
Hey, RP is not on here, guy.
East ECU.
Pirates.
East Carolina, and then went on to play in the NFL for the Super Bowl winning Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And then a few other teams, including my Dallas Cowboys, before coming north to the Montreal Alouettes and then the Calgary Stampeders, where we became teammates, and has been coaching for the last 8 years, 3 as a DC, and last year as the head coach of the BC Lions. Welcome to the show, DeVone Claybrooks. Biscuit, what's up?
What up, man? Thanks for having me on.
Well, let's go ahead and get this out of the way. Go ahead and tell everybody why your nickname is Biscuit.
Well, ironically, I mean, it gets kind of confusing because we're in Canada, and most Europeans and things like that from the English descent equate biscuit as a cookie.
And they eat muffins.
Yeah. But basically, growing up, my grandmother used to make these hot, from the South, so hot buttermilk biscuits. She used to make them every day after school. And she said, I eat so many biscuits, I used to eat them all with honey on them things. And she was like, I eat so many biscuits, she's going to call me Biscuit. And then when I got to college, like, how your parents take you to college that day. And so she's calling me Biscuit, and I don't know my roommate from Adam. And we're just, unpacking our stuff. My grandparents unpacking my stuff and stuff. And then the first team meeting that night, we had a welcome to the team meeting. And so they were like, do you anybody, like, so they say your name, where you're from. And then they said, do you have any nicknames? And I was like, no. And then my roommate was like, yeah, you do. It's grandma calling Biscuit because he got a big biscuit head. And then after that, it was over.
They're just stuck.
Oh, yeah. Now, even this morning on the interview with Sportsnet, James was like, James's first thing he said, what's up, Biscuit?
Yeah. How's life been with COVID?
Well, I mean, it's kind of like I welcome the slowing down. Like, I mean, it's actually good to actually, take some time to yourself, because this is the first year that I'm not in football or not involved. I mean, last year this time we were getting bit by a million mosquitoes in Kamloops. So I mean, yeah, it's crazy because as being a diabetic, I'm higher risk than the average person. So you have to be extremely careful on those type of things. I think it's imperative to take care of yourself. You get, luckily, like for us, we're in Canada, so you get fairly sustainable information from every avenue, like your province, your government. They're pretty much saying the same thing. Unlike in the U.S., where you got the president getting up there saying, inject yourself with this, do this, and that type of thing. So, I mean, it's great to be in Canada, to be completely honest, dealing with this type of thing. And I think that it can only build. I mean, I'm listening, and I was just talking to my mom, and she was telling me that, like, 4 of her, there's 4 houses, we're from the country, you can relate to the country. Like, my town is big in York. So. But it's ironic because my mom said that her best friend's sister just passed away with COVID, and the reason, and she never left her house in 3 months. So, like, I mean, that's so crazy because one of her kids or somebody had to bring it there, and I wouldn't want that on my conscience if I'm an asymptomatic carrier and then I go and drive to Sask and see you and then be around you. You know what I mean? Like, it's just that exposure, and it's just really not worth it to me on the risk. So, I mean, I've been enjoying reading. I mean, luckily I got a nice place with a nice view, and I can walk and down by the things, and I'm just staying in shape and just working out and going over still doing some football stuff. And then I re-enrolled in school, and I'm enrolled in Columbia, so I'm doing that, just keeping busy.
Awesome, congrats. Yeah, that's one of the biggest things with me is like going to see my mom, driving down or even taking a flight down. It's so hard with her, her immune system's not there. And, I know if she gets it, then I don't want to be the reason my mother passed away. So that's a very hard transition to know you're going into because you're going to see people along the way. Either I'm driving and staying in a hotel, getting gas.
You're going to get exposed.
Eating, so you don't know what's going to happen and where it's going to be at. And then once I see her, I probably won't be able to go back and see her anymore.
Yeah, and then
I'm gonna
the
be
crazy
out.
part is, and if you go to the States, then you're stuck in the States.
Yeah, right now that's the thing is like that's why I'm not going yet. But
Because I'm really excited. I was waiting for the borders to open up so I can go to my house in Phoenix and just chill by the pool and let this thing blow over. But like the way they go, the way the things going down there, and the way people acting and wilding, I mean, it's just tough for me. Like, I mean, I went to the 3 rallies last week here, and they were very peaceful protests, and you got your message across and those type of things. And then the saddest part about it is that you get those few bad apples that try to let the message that we're trying to come across gets hidden and gets lost in translation when you're dealing with those type of things.
Yeah, but there's people with agendas. There's a lot of money involved in this. I just seen just now in LA, they just defunded the police department of $150 million and given it to the Black communities.
And but my question is like I understand that, but like, okay, so how is this money going to be dispersed? Like, it's one thing to say, but like to say I'm giving it to the Black communities, does that mean I'm putting it in the Black communities by giving it to the school programs? I mean, because we all know that the Black schools are underfunded. We all know that we know those and we understand those things, but until we have, like, the biggest problem that you run into today in society right now that you're dealing with is, even with people, businesses, and everything, is that everybody's saying they're going to do this or going to do that, but what is your plan to implement and to do that? So if I'm implementing $150 million or whatever, then how is this money going to really help the Black community and help them get better? I think that is what we need. We need to hear plans. We don't need to hear, it's like everybody can say, I pledge X amount of dollars and I pledge X amount of dollars. Well, technically speaking, I can pledge X amount of dollars and give it to my Black friend, and he Black, and technically I've given it to the Black community. He opens a business on his own, and then I can say so. And even with the people speaking about, they're speaking out about, like, racism and stuff, and then you go back on their Twitter feeds, or because fans are quick to call you out on, well, 6 months ago, 2 years ago, you said this, and to watch people try to change their narrative and clean up their own images, when are they really learning it, or are they really just saying that right now? Like, the key to it is going to be is when 6 months from now, when the dust settles on this whole thing, then who's really still moving forward and helping us pull in the direction to where we can get equality and where we don't feel like we're discriminated against and those type of things, and who's not pulling forward, and who was just selling these wolf tickets, or who was just trying to get their status up or their follows up by doing this and that.
You see them out there too. And one of the biggest things that I notice is, like, when you think of systemic racism, it's taught, but it's taught in schools and everywhere else. Like, if you think about your history books, how many lies is in that history book? We celebrate Christopher Columbus for sailing to America and discovering a new continent, but people are already here. Yes. Like, at what point do we stop the lies, and at what point does the truth start? And I believe, I mean, honestly, I have this conversation with my wife. If I was white and I grew up where I grew up, I would 100% feel superior to Black people.
I can see that. But, I mean,
you read a book and everything you read is white people discovered this, white people created this, white people invented this. Everything that is said, but it starts of white with people.
It starts with the 8 crayons, Nick. It starts with the crayon. If you ask any kid, and this is a study proven, that if you ask any kid to pick out a crayon and say that it symbolizes something bad, they're gonna pull out the black one. Yeah. And if you ask them to pick out a crayon to symbolize something good, it's gonna be the white one. Yeah. I mean, you refer to darkness as something negative, and you refer to light as something positive. That's just been ingrained in us since we were, 3 or 4 years old?
Black sheep, black eye, black swan, black market. Everything associated with the word black is bad. But see, that is like taught over time, and people don't understand that. But when you look at the schooling system, they can't just change the books like that, or can they? And if they do, then that starts. But that's where it's got to start. because you're creating a system to where there's no education of Black people. There's no, and I mean, a lot of it was stolen. You know, a lot of the inventions, and they came up with the patent, and they said, okay, well, if you don't have money for a patent, then it was taken from them.
Yes.
Right. So at this point, there's a lot of names on patents that shouldn't be there. And how do we really have this conversation of equality when it's still going to be taught superiority?
Well, I totally get what you're saying, but I disagree in one point of like, yeah, it is taught, but for me, I think it starts at home.
Yeah.
Because like you have to think about it, if you have a kid in North Dakota or something and his parents and his uncles, they drop the N-word loosely all the time. That's what it's almost like that education of where he's exposed to and what they're exposed to. He doesn't know that that's a bad word in that point in time when he's 5, 6, and 7 until he gets to 11 and 12. And then sometimes they don't even see Black people until outside of high school at that point in those small rural towns. And that's the issue that I was talking about earlier. Like, are we really going to have a change, or are we still going to sell the wolf tickets? Because for example, the alumni from Navy did a phone call, or it was on Daily Mail today. The alumni that's in the alumni board for the Navy Academy and Navy had his phone on and went live and was talking to his wife and dropped the N-word 20 times, and she talking about, and it was crazy. And then he was like, apologized and said, I have to think about my growth as a person. He's 67 years old. That's how he really feels. But imagine how many African American and Black people that he's shook hands with, and all the while dropping the N-word under their breath. And it's almost like you just want to be used like we were back in the day to the benefit, and then move on and move forward for people. And that's what's bothersome is like, even the guy from what's the CrossFit? Like, I mean, just these crazy comments coming out, and you like, you really thinking this to when you're in your 140 characters, you really thought about this is the best you could come up with in this situation and in circumstances. So like, this is really showing a lot of people get to mask their hatred for Blacks or whoever right now, but a lot of people are showing their true colors of how they really feel, whether it's about Black, whites, gays. Like it doesn't. Discrimination is discrimination. Yeah, and I think that that is the toughest part that we're dealing with right now.
Yeah, it's like you said, it's the overall discrimination. I don't care if you're Black, white, Asian, if you're gay or transgender or male or female. Correct. There's a lot of that goes on. You think they just apologize because of business?
Yes, 100%. And the reason that businesses are cutting quickly, like, I mean, even the chick from Glee or whatever, the chick from whatever, like, she was with HelloFresh, and they said that she was a bully and said that she would, defecate in somebody's wig, her co-stars. She got dropped from HelloFresh like right then. So companies are so on edge because and that's what the Black people will have to understand, that we have buying power. Like we have to understand that we have buying power. So we're marching in the companies that we don't feel like supporting our movement. We need to actively boycott those companies to make them understand and feel that our money is green too, and it spends. And until you hit home with those, but then you also listen and look at the companies like this. Think about it from this perspective. I'm gonna take it one level because I've thought about it because my mom and I were having this deep discussion earlier. Think about this. All these companies are cutting ties. How many African American executives do they have? I mean, that's the $1 million question. Like, you're talking about equality and you talking about Black Lives Matter, but we look at your executive board and it's ages from 50 to 60 and they're all white. Then how can you even relate to it if you don't even have nobody in the board meeting that can actually bring the issues or bring the red flags where you're talking about a marketing plan or an advertising campaign where if you have an African American in there, he can be like, whoa, this ain't cool. Like,
this ain't gonna happen. Yeah,
this ain't gonna happen. This is gonna get blown back. Now this is gonna be a bad blowback. I mean, you think about it. If CrossFit had a board where where they could bounce it off of. So, I mean, I think it needs, for all these people and all these companies that are saying this, but like, how do you implement it? Like, I mean, you have the Rooney Rule in the NFL. I mean, we're going to eventually get to football anyway. You have the Rooney Rule in the NFL. If we've been talking about unfair hiring and firing of African-American head coaches or coaches in general for years, and it was still in the forefront. I mean, Stephen A., give him credit, he brings it up every year. Every year when there's 5 or 6 jobs open and you get a quality control guy who was only a receiver coach for 1 year and gets to be a head coach, and then you got guys who've been coordinators for 20 years, never get an opportunity. You have to bring that to the forefront. And why do you think they had to amend the Rooney Rule? The reason they had to amend the rule is because clearly the way the rule was established, I mean, if it wasn't racism, then that was one of the most ridiculous statements I've ever heard from a coach when he said that there's no racism and he's never experienced it, and if the life could be like a football locker room. I mean, I remember in the football locker room, it's still haves and have-nots, and it's still the guys on the bubble, and it's still the guys are not on the bubble, and it's still, I mean, he's right. The locker room does imitate life, and there is discrimination in the locker room. So for him to even fix his mouth and to come out and say that, when you think about when he was up for his job and there were other qualified African Americans, then how can you make that change, or how can you make those comments when you're saying it that way? I mean, and don't get me wrong, I can understand what he was trying to say, and I find that a lot of this happens to a lot of people right now because they're trying to say the right things and they're trying to be politically correct and they're trying to, say the right things, but then it's like no matter what you say, you're going to get judged either way. Like I haven't posted anything on Twitter about Black Lives Matter. Does that mean I don't support the movement? I've donated money. I've been to the rallies here in Calgary. I've done my part. I'm working with the Black Calgary chapter, Calgary Black Chamber that just got started up here. And so like I'm doing my part, but I don't really feel like it's necessary for me to post all this on social media, because then you're not judged on your merits of what you're doing in your heart. You're judged on the 140 characters. Yeah.
And I'm just going to go back, touch on the Rooney Rule. I don't think interviewing two now is going to help either. I think, like, look at Jerry Jones last year. You know Jerry personally. And everybody that I know that knows Jerry personally has high things to say about Jerry Jones.
I do too.
Jerry Jones interviewed 2 head coaches, Marvin Lewis and whoever they got now. But
hold up, man. Oh, that's your team, and you know who the head coach is?
Man, look, too much going on.
I mean, just don't be blaming quarantine on this.
Mike McCarthy. So
yes.
So my thing is this. I believe Jerry Jones had in mind he wanted Mike McCarthy, but could not hire Mike McCarthy, so he had to interview a black head coach. So for him to bring in Marvin Lewis, a respected head coach, former head coach in the NFL, just to interview him for due process, with no intention to ever thinking about hiring him. That's the thing. Like,
well, you got it, but wait. Only rebuttal, devil's advocate. The other side of the coin is, Jerry had his guy, and I'm not defending him or anything like that. I mean, I'll get into what I feel about the Rooney Rule in a second about what you said, but what happens if Mike McCarthy takes the Chargers job because it's more appealing, even though he was in the Dallas gig and they couldn't get the deal done? Then it's Marvin Lewis's job. So I get the fact of the point of the interview, but the problem that I have with the rule is that it's just like you interview the two to interview the two. Now here comes my 3 candidates that I want. The point of the rule is to have fair, deserving candidates get a fair shot. But you're never going to get a fair shot until you affect the upper management of the NFL. And that is the owners, vice presidents, presidents. When they become African Americans, then you will see a tide shift, and then you will see a change and evolution in the hiring process. I mean, you're probably going to see a phase, honestly, after this year. I hope that the seasons both leagues be able to play football. This year, when kids get fired because of the Black Lives Matter, and it's sad to say, but they'll probably be hot right now. So if it's 8 openings, you might see 6 African American head coaches. But I think, and then do you equate that to the fairness of them being well deserved of their job, or do you equate that to be because of the Black Lives Matter movement and such and such and such and such? Is that why they have those jobs? I mean, so it's one of those where you're it's such a balancing act, and you really won't know anybody's intentions because it's so hard to tell. Because you got to think, you and I are very familiar with dealing with ownership and seeing it. They see it their way. I mean, we've seen that as players. I mean, I've witnessed, your dealings with ownership and being told one thing and things happen in different ways, and I vice versa have just we've just dealt with it personally on being preconceived one way and things going exactly how you discussed, exactly your plan. If you put a plan together to be ready for year 2, just like you wanted to, and you discussed your 2 or 3 year plan, then that's what you assume that you're going to do. But when you're, like I say all the time, when your name's on the front of the check and you sign on the back, you got to do what the man on the front says. And it's tough. Like, think about this. How can you tell a guy worth $2 billion, Jerry Jones, $3 billion, or whatever he's worth, to say, I know you own this company, I know you brought it for X amount of million, but I want you to hire this. Name any successful businessman that's hired somebody else that they didn't want to hire.
Yeah.
I mean, and you got to look at the egos, and all these guys are successful businessmen. They're 1% of the 1%. So they don't get that way by being, passive. They get there by being cutthroat, ruthless, conniving, manipulative, and all those things. That doesn't cut off when you buy a football team.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't go off at all. So you're still dealing with those things.
Yeah, that's so true. You spoke about Sally, man. How's Sally doing?
She's good, actually. She's making sewing masks, and she's high risk as well because she's got she checks all the boxes. Fat, black, diabetic. you might have to beat that fat part out because she gonna get me.
Put the chant on the mask.
Yeah. But no, she's actually good. She's remodeling, doing some things around the house. Like my uncle's helping her remodel some things there, and she's been sewing masks. She makes a wool mask. Like she's been. She was sewing before we were born, so like she can do anything with a sewing machine. So she's been sewing masks and those type of things. We donated some masks and stuff to the hospital at home, and we just trying to give back. Where we're fortunate and blessed in our situation and those type of things, and where we're able to give back. I mean, because any little bit counts, and we're able to try to do our part and just try to it's all about your footprint and whether you can grow it one way or another, and you just continue to build it. But she's enjoying life. I mean, she can't complain. She's very mad because she's pissed because the borders are closed. But she's like, I've been to Canada 3 times by now. So that's her only thing. Like and then we miss family vacay. Like we used to go to the beach before training camp. We used to go there.
Myrtle Beach.
Myrtle Beach, yeah.
Yeah.
And she missed that. So, she missing that. So she kind of needs some her time. So she wants to, she said she's going to go and just rent her Airbnb and get away for a weekend and just cut her phone off and blah, blah, blah. She's been running ragged with the stuff I needed to do for my businesses at home and then trying to make masks. And then she does have my 15-year-old nephew at home, and that in itself is killing her because he can't do nothing but be at the house. So
yeah, they'd be bored.
Oh, yeah, but I was able to make him on the patio outside. I talked him through making him some little boxes, some agility boxes and things like that.
That's good.
So hopefully it's a little chunky booty get out there and start doing some workouts because, I was like, you got the man boobs. You better get in that gym, buddy.
No matter how big I got, I ain't never had no man boobs.
Yeah, that's true. That's because it go right to your belly.
Well, let's start when you were that age, when you were growing up in Martensville, man. When did you really get into football, and when did you really know that you wanted sports to be the rest of your life?
My life changed when I was 14. I was because when I was in junior high, I played all the junior varsity sports. I used to bus to the high school and play those sports. So then when I got to high school at 14, that's when we had a new coaching change in the new regime. And I would God shined down on me because it was Coach Bobby Martin came in. He went to Virginia Tech. Old school guy, like old school, like he didn't like no earrings, no tattoos, like, you know what I mean? The pants is gonna be up. He wants you to go to church. Like he was one of those, and his objective was to get to help get black man from this, you know, to get a scholarship to have a better life. And I never forget it because I was just a sophomore at that time, and I tricked off my whole freshman year. You know what I mean? Because I was starting varsity. Like I was second team All-State as a freshman. So, you know, I was walking around. You already know how you walk around like
this about to be a breeze.
Yeah, like I'm like, this is what life's about. What? And then, but I never went to school. Like I had all D's. I had like a few C's. And then he came in. He was like, I never really, and this is another thing. Like we're talking about the education. Like the courses, like I never had a guidance counselor talk to me when I was a freshman in high school about college. And these are the courses you need to take in college. But not until he came, and because he had already went to college on a full football scholarship, that he was like, okay, well, you can go to college. He said, you can go to a big school. The worst case scenario, your athleticism can get you a D1, AA, or D2 scholarship. And that's when my life changed, because he was like an old school guy. He cut lumber and stuff. So if we wanted stuff for school, because my grandparents didn't have it or whatever the case may be, we would go cut lumber in the morning, and we cut lumber on the weekends to like buy those J's for $150. I cut lumber for 3 days. I get them J's. So like whatever we wanted. But what that taught me was the value of hard work. And then if we weren't cutting 3 or 4 days a week, we're at the school at 6 o'clock in the morning. So like when I got to college and I was doing those winter workouts, that's what I was known for. So like I can say that he groomed me and prepared me for that second career. And I owe him a lot, because we had to go see the guidance counselor to redo my grades so I can be, you know, to redo my classes, to start taking college credit courses and those type of things, where I wouldn't have had a clue about it. And I mean, he's probably helped in the 20 years, at least 250 kids, you know, continue their education. And you don't hear about those. And yeah, he's had some run-ins because he's old school. So like, he's really like, he's got up in kids' faces. He's never put his hand on kids, but he's got up in their faces, because I'm an old school guy. I believe that too. Like life, I tell my mom this all the time, life is not going to baby anybody. And these millennials and the parents nowadays are babying their kids. And then when they get smacked by the real world, you wonder why the suicide rate is so high, is because nobody's teaching people how to deal with adversity, setbacks. You know, everybody, I mean, you think about like even when we got fired, our phones were blowing up like we had cancer or we was dying or something. Yeah. And it's like, it's just a job in the grand scheme of things. I mean, we can find other jobs and we can always do that. But
I just want to say, you got fired. My contract ran out.
Well, okay. Staff's contract was not renewed, and head coach got fired. Oh, you're so stupid.
Who was your favorite players growing up? Like, who'd you watch and that really motivated you to go out there?
Well, my dad, my grandpa, he loved the Deadskins. So we used to shoot up because it's like 4 hours. So we shoot up, check out a game at the old stadium. It was cool. It was fun. I mean, I was an athlete growing up. So like I was a running back in high school, and so like I always liked to catch the score, the touchdowns and stuff. Like I didn't want to play defense. Like I had like 40 some defensive scholarships, and I only had like 5 offensive scholarships. But I was an all-state running back and led the conference in receptions and all this other stuff. I used to line a receiver in Moss Cats, and I got the DVD. Anytime y'all want to see it, it was
DVD?
VHS, but I had to convert it.
Okay.
I had to convert it over, man.
You got to convert it.
You know what I mean? Next thing I'm gonna put it on a USB, then I'm good.
But what mama Eagles fan?
Oh, my mom is a diehard Eagles fan. Like,
So dad's
die.
a Redskins fan, mom's an Eagles fan.
And then my other uncle is they like the NFC. They like the NFC East because my other uncle's a Dallas Cowboy fan. Like they like it always stays there. Funny story. Speaking of Dallas and Eagles. So I'm playing for the Cowboys. Bill Parcells the head coach. We're playing in Philly. And so my mom, like I said, is a diehard Eagles fan. So she had on the Claybrooks Cowboys jersey, but she had on the Eagles headband, Eagles eye black, Eagles wristband, Eagles win pants, Eagles everything else. I don't know this at the time I'm playing the game. So after the game, I see my mom in the little, where you meet your parents at, meet your family at. I see her with like 6 police escorts. Like it's 6 police escorting her. And you and I both know Sally off the chain. So I'm like, what in the hell does she do now? Lo and behold, she comes up to me, baby, they tried to throw me out the stands. I said, for what? She said, well, the Eagles fans was like, hey, you can't be this way. You can't straddle the fence. You got to be the Eagles or the Cowboys. And my mom goes, well, this is my son, and the rest of this is all me. And they was like, you got to get up out of here with this. And try to throw out, and then she had to get a police escort. I mean, they had to have a jail. Somebody had a jail in Philly, right?
They used to have that jail in the basement down there.
Yeah, I know. At the Veteran Memorial Stadium. Yep, the last game they played in that, we blew it up. And I say we as in the Bucks.
Hey man, look, that turf
turf
was rough back then.
In 02 we blew that thing up. In 01, it was 01 because 02 Super Bowl. In 01 because we were saying that we blowing up the vet. We blow it up. And after the game, we on the bus, dude. And I don't know where they got all these eggs from. But this is how crazy Philly fans is. After the game, we won. We celebrate. We on the bus. About to get on the charter to go back to Tampa. Man, they were throwing eggs at the bus and everything. And the cops is sitting there looking, laughing. I was like, where did they get all these eggs? The game just over.
They done ran to the car waiting for y'all to get out there.
Yeah. But, I mean, that was fun, though.
How'd you get to ECU? Oh, my favorite player, Michael Irvin, no doubt. The original playmaker. You know what, though? Here's the thing.
Who's the best receiver in Cowboy history?
Michael Irvin. Irvin.
Can you stop making? You can't make it. You can't make a serious face when you say that.
No, okay. So this is my influence, right? So Michael Irvin was the heart and soul of the Cowboys. Emmitt Smith was uber talented. Troy Aikman did his thing. Jay Novacek, Alvin Harper. They had a defense that was dominant. But when you look, when Michael Irvin was involved, he made everything work.
No, you missed the key point.
Oh, Daryl Johnson?
No, you not the moves. Man, look, I played with Larry Allen. I seen him bench press 550 and 10.
Well, we talk. That O-line was the best O-line.
I seen LA bench 500 and some with his knees up with a big dip in and take Marcellus Wiley's money. Like I witnessed that.
Larry Allen, Mark Tuinei.
Like you named all them skill players just like a skill player.
Larry Allen, Mark Tuinei, Mark Stepnoski, Eric Williams, Larry Allen. Them boys worked. Mark Tuinei, man. Look, hey, yeah, they did what they're supposed to do, man. Great team overall, but you would just see Michael Irvin make big play after big play, and he'd check Troy ass sometimes, be like, "Get me the ball." And Troy, he made the play, the original playmaker, man. And that's just the way the style of play he played with allowed me to go. It
reminds you. He does. I can see the
Eagles got Bobby Taylor because of Michael Irvin. They were like, man, we need a big DB because Michael Irvin killing these small. Michael Irvin didn't run up and just pat you when you blocked.
Yeah, but they also let you be they also let you be physical.
Yes. So he was.
Okay, so who's the most underrated Cowboy of all time, in your opinion?
Ooh, that's tough.
Now, he can't be in the Hall of Fame because he would be rated good if he's in the Hall of Fame.
Tony Romo.
Yeah, let me ask you a question on your own show, punk.
Tony Romo is underrated, man.
There they go. Now look, how many times have we had this argument as roommates?
Dude, I'm telling you, Tony Romo is so underrated. Think about this. The numbers he put up, he never had a top 15 defense. He had the best defense he had, They went 13-3. The
And then
only
they
times
lost.
he threw,
Didn't they lose? Didn't they lose because he dropped the extra point?
yeah, but the only time he would throw picks at the end of games.
Underrated if he don't drop the extra point, they win that game.
The only time that he threw picks at the end of games were on O-line blocking scheme breakdowns, letting a guy come free up the middle. He throws a hot route. The Eagles, he's throwing it swing pass the whole game. I'm like, man, he's got to throw the swing pass. Nobody's peeling with the back. In the one play, Brandon Graham, I think, was peel with the back.
Yep.
And he got the pick. Like, it was just a hell of a play by a defensive end. But the whole game, they never peeled with the bat.
And you don't think that Romo should have won more?
I think if he had a better defense. I think defense wins. See, this is the problem I have. Defense wins championships. That's what I heard from the first time I played the game, and now it's quarterbacks win. No, quarterbacks don't win no damn championships. Trent Dilfer go hand the ball off and win a championship. Defense wins championships. You can't change the narrative now because quarterbacks get paid more money. Now,
quarterbacks always got paid more money.
But that's what I'm saying. So now you can't just say, "Oh, well, the defense don't matter." When the number one defense,
this is what the mindset is. This defense. You don't need a quarterback to win the game. You need a quarterback to manage the game. You need to win the game together as a team. That's true. But what you do need from your quarterback, if I do need that 2nd and 10 or that 2nd and 15 to get me in 3rd and 6 or 3rd manageable, I need that quarterback to be able to make those throws. Yeah. Now, I was Romo's teammate, so I know he can make all those throws, and I know that the players in the locker room, the guys in the locker room respected him. I mean, I personally just think it's just one of those where it just didn't work. I mean, it doesn't, it wasn't any knock on him. I mean, it was plenty of time and plenty of situations where a play, even he don't drop a snap and they kick the extra point, they win that game. And now is his legacy totally different because they could go on and win. They were pretty good that year too because it was a home game.
Dealing with early Dez running the wrong routes. Dez not running the dig route, runs a post. Tony throws it, pick.
You're speaking like a true Cowboy.
But no, I speak it like I know the game Cowboys fan. I'm not.
No, you don't.
I'm not speaking it as
how many times we didn't have a discussion where you did not, no matter what, you slanted it to the Cowboys.
I'm a slant.
Like you're like a reporter. You're like a reporter that got a favorite player.
A referee once told me I was his favorite player, and I was like, "Well, you damn sure don't throw no flags for me."
Well, that's true.
Because CFL, all these refs live in these cities and stuff, and I mean,
they like you.
Yeah, I was always good with the refs.
I know you were always good with the refs, so that was about it. Because I look, as fat as you was, I was like, do you ever get tired of talking? Like, how you just ran and you fat and you still talking? Like, where is you breathing?
I used to push it out. I used to push out my stomach to get more air.
Nah, that jersey was just so tight you had to suck it in.
Ain't no sucking in with that. No. The other roommate, let's talk about him when he got to East Carolina.
Who, Stokes?
Yeah.
Hey, funny story. Stokes get to East Carolina, man. He ain't like to lift weights. Like, he hated lifting weights. Like, they used to have to make the GA follow Stokes around. And, like, I used to hate it because Stokes was in our class. He got put in our class. And then when he got put in our class, we was like, man, this little man, they don't even want to do nothing. Like, I mean, because we never know because he came in January, right?
He said he was like 160.
Yeah, he was like 160. He still didn't have no abs, though. That's the worst part. Like, he still had the pose. Like, he never had no abs. Never. Like ever. And then, like, he never, like, so, like, he became under a microscope. And then you can't really tell in spring ball what somebody can do, but he was routing them up. But I tell you what, that first damn game of the regular season, the first punt, 65 out the gate. And after that, it was over. He had like
arm swinging.
But that one arm doing like that. Yeah. I mean, I mean, he worked like, and then and that's the craziest part because he's like he would work hard on the field, agility drills, any of that stuff. But when you got in that weight room, no, that damn weight room was like he was not like he hated lifting weight like to the umpteen power. But I mean, he carved out a good pro career. I mean, shoot, he should definitely be in the CFL Hall of Fame as a return.
Yeah, I think so too. Especially what he did for how long he did it too.
Yeah, I mean, and then he's the only person I know that came off the couch 3 years in a row to get one to the crib at some point. And one time he had 2 in getting off the couch. So, like, I mean, when you get off the couch mid to the end of the season, you still come in as an injury replacement and still be able to carve them up. And that means you really know what you're doing in that aspect.
How was your career at East Carolina? Was you the man?
It was good. Yeah, it was good. I loved it. I mean, I was a 3-year starter. I didn't start as a freshman, but I started as a sophomore, junior, and a senior. You know, had good numbers. My last year, I think I finished with over 5 or 6 sacks as a D tackle. I mean, I always had 4 or 5 as a D tackle. But I mean, it was one of those where you were like at that point in time, because I came out at like 290, and so really wasn't a lot of teams and choices. Because when I came out of college, I actually went to New York, and then I failed my physical with New York, and then Green Bay picked me right up, and then I flew from New York to Green Bay, and then I played the whole preseason in Green Bay, and I loved it. The preseason was lit because I had Gilbert Brown and Santana Dotson. They 2 old vets, so they weren't taking no reps. So, like, I got to, like, play and start in preseason games and had like 4 sacks in the preseason. So I was like, I knew I was going to make the team. And that's when you learn about the politics.
That's it.
So, no matter what, they had me. And then they still try to cut me and put me on the PR. And then Booker McFarland got hurt in like last week of preseason or something. And then Tampa took me off the practice roster from Green Bay. And I was just down there. And that's when I really learned how to really play football, because like Sapp, a lot of people think that, you know, Warren is like a goofball, but he's probably one of the most high football IQ people I've ever been around. And he knows the game. Like, I mean, he can take like, and that was cool because like it was my second year. And so he was like my first and second year in the league was with him. And it was like, he taught me how to be a pro. And it's crazy because like he would want us there. Everything started at 8. We'd be there at 6:30. We'd be on the field by 7, doing hand drills before the 8 o'clock meetings or breakfast. Then we're doing hand drills and we're doing drills after practice. But then after that, now we're going to get it in. So we're going to dinner. We might come back to the facility at 4 o'clock in the morning and sleep there for the next 3 or 4 hours. But you rinse and repeat. And he showed me how that you can be successful on the field and enjoy your life off the field and put your time in. And he showed you how to learn what the back end doing, because if you know what the linebackers and you know what the DB's doing, now as a front guy, I know when I can take a chance because I know I got support here. Now, if I know we're playing cover 2 man, I better hold contain and keep my contain because they're running everybody off. Just little things like that you really don't think of because you growing up in college, all you listen to is front, what game we're running, and how I'm doing it. Like you ain't really paying attention to coverage aspect or any of that. And then once you learn that in the evolved game, I mean, it's just like a receiver learning to run holes and stuff like that. Yep. So you know fake, because if you're the 3 receiver and they're faking to your side, you should be the first hot read off that just by natural. So just knowing where to play fake coming to and that type of thing. You know, if you're the 3 receiver and the play fake's opposite, then you know you just a decoy because you don't get the ball. So just things like that where he was able to, you know, and evolve and like spend time with a young guy and like put time in, because it was like myself, Ron Warner, and Ellis Williams, and we were 3 young cats. And like they like him, Sam, Booger, like them cats took us on the wing. Greg, like the Greg Spires, they like took us all on their wing, and like because that was probably one of the tight knit groups. That's why like when I came to Canada, I always would have D-line nights because that's where I got it from. Like, we would have D-line stuff. Like that, those things together. Like we were always together, always playing the game. I think back then that Tiger Woods was jumping, so we used to play that Tiger Woods, hit the ball and turn red. That Tiger Woods.
Try to get that power up.
Yeah, that power up. We used to play that for drill. And but now, like I mean, that he was a great influence. And then I have to say, Coach Huff was a great influence to give me my first coaching gig. I mean, I had coached in NFL Europe and the intern and worked in their scouting department, so I kind of knew that I wanted to get into it. And then I tried to, when I got to here as the old head in Calgary, I tried to mimic what I seen the old guys do to me and try to help the young guys, whether it was like Mace and, E. Hughes and those guys, try to help those guys and try to help those guys grow. And Coach Huff seen something in me and was able to say, well, I think you got what it takes to coach, and able to give me a job and then help me groom that job through trial and errors, and then let me sink and swim on my own, not so much as taking it, but also allowing me to fail and take those steps and then teaching me so that you can learn and you can grow. I mean, I can ask for a better organization and things like that as far as those structures. And even then transitioning to Dave before I left, it's a great experience. And like, I'm real tight with the guy now. I mean, I still call and talk to him all the time and that type of thing. It's really like when they say football is family, it's really true. And that's the best part about this issue and the things that we're dealing with right now. You can set everything aside and we can hold hands as brothers against one cause and one common goal. And as long as we can do that, I think we'll be fine and we'll be heading in the right direction.
Yeah. Dude, Sap is an animal, man. You got to get lucky to get with guys like that, because there's a lot of guys that don't. There's a lot of guys that don't take the time to help you because they're like, I'm not going to help you take my job, or I'm not going to help you live your career. He could be, but like Sap was like you in this aspect, because he was like, ain't nobody going to beat me anyway. Yeah. So I mean, like, if that's your mindset and that's what you think, like, I mean, if I was to text Sap right now and say, you could get five in this league today, I bet he texts me back in all caps, hell yeah. Like that. I mean, you telling me that you can't get 110 catches? Dude, I tell you like this.
Oh my God.
I'm 100% serious. I'm 100% serious right now. If like Milt made a joke that he coming back at 50. Then G-Roy had a little video where he's running, talking about he getting ready to come back and Milt come back. I said at 40, I'll come back and I'll get 1,000.
I believe that. But I mean,
I'm going to need 100 catches.
Have 120 catches for 9 years.
I'm going to need 100 catches, but I'm going to get 1,000.
I don't know, because you're going to catch at least 2 young DBs slipping a game where they think they can hit you high. You're going to get above your little 10-yard average.
But see, if I even thought about coming back for real, I wouldn't come back over 230.
Well, I mean, that would be in itself an achievement, miracle, considering that you're a 4-star D tackle right
now. No, but I mean, if I made my mind up, like, look, this is what we're gonna do, because I feel good body wise, and I'm just like, you see me jump over Stokes' head last year, I still can jump. So if I really decided to do it, I would get down to under 230.
Again.
But I'd have to give up drinking. And if I gave up drinking for a year, then the commitment would automatically be there.
Nick, if you give up drinking for a year, hey man, I'm sure we can do a pool of. I can put this in 8 group chats right now. And Nick said he about to give up drinking for a year.
To come back at 40.
How much do you think my stuff is gonna be like bling 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 bling? Everybody gonna want some of that action.
Jared's gonna be the first one. Like, I gotta have it on.
100%.
I gotta have it on it.
Well, first off, have you drunk all the Crown that's at your house for your birthday?
No. 3 bottles.
You ain't gonna make it. Because you're gonna drink all that. You're gonna be like, I ain't starting until this is over.
I mean, I'm not even 39 yet to come back at 40.
Oh, so you said you got a while?
I got 2 years. I'm gonna need 2 years now.
Oh,
I just turned 38. I just turned 38. So if I come back, it'll start next year. I'm not coming back.
100%.
I have no desire to play anymore.
Well, yeah, I mean, but like at the end of the day, like, well, that's what I was gonna say. Like, what is there you've got? It's not like, for example, if you're a 10 receiving yard sharps and stuff, or that. Like, I mean, but still, who gonna come back for a whole year of pounding for 10 yards? Like, I mean, you have nothing to prove. You got a Hall of Fame career. Like, what else is there left?
Well, if I go in the Hall of Fame next year as the first ballot, then I could come back, be the first Hall of Famer to have 1,000 yards after he was already in the Hall of Fame.
Man, look, Is you on 5G over there? Like, on with you?
I've been in the house for 4 months.
Golly.
No.
I mean, I got me a mountain bike. I'm ready.
Man, I got me a cruiser, man. I ain't mountain biking. I cruise.
Well, I mean, I'm not gonna mountain bike. I have a mountain bike. I'm not going in no mountains with no bike. I mean, I'm on the paved joint right here by the zoo. Got my music on. It got me and put me 3 nudes in a water bottle.
You drinking nudes while riding. That's funny.
Yeah, I mean, it's 0 sugar. I gotta keep my diabetic stuff up and I'm exercising, so I'm doing 2 pluses.
Yeah, that's good.
But look, check this out though. So you know how I got that big hill in Bridgeland right there to go down? Nah. I go around to the science center, come around all the way around. I ain't going to the hill, man.
No, that's a big hill.
Back around the other way.
That'll make your back hurt.
My back hurt anyway, man. What you mean? This is D-line.
How do you feel after your career?
You know they tell you if you play, huh?
How do you feel after your career?
Oh, I feel great, except every so often, like I'll get like some pain in my knees and stuff. Like everything will stiffen up on me. It doesn't happen that. I'll probably happen 2 or 3 times a year.
Yeah.
But I already got the doctor was like, yes, the early signs. But like, I mean, like for me, I left football because I really feel like I didn't have anything else to prove, and then I had a great opportunity to be right into a position coach.
Yeah.
So like it was like I could have played for another 2 years, but why am I going to play for another 2 years when this opportunity ain't going to be there in 2 years? So like I kind of cut my career short in that aspect because of the opportunity that was presented itself in that aspect. So that's kind of what I did. But I mean, you take Charleston for example. I mean, he's still chugging along. I mean, it just goes to show you that athleticism and skill set has something to do with it. But once you learn your craft and you learn the techniques, then you can still be successful. However, just like the little nuances where you doing a little chicken wing to separate. Yeah. You know you only need 6 inches to separate. You're going to go snag the ball. Just look like that. Charleston knows he can set him up high and counter back low and those type of things. And I think that's probably the most rewarding thing as like a coach. And you can relate to this is when you see a player that couldn't do some stuff, then you teach it, you group it, and then also you see him do it in the game and you feel like a proud parent.
Yeah, because you had some guys down there, man. Like even when you were playing, like you were working with Tom Johnson and other guys like that and Charleston and then once you became a coach and even in 12, who was the guys? It was Charleston.
Michael Lemon, Cordero.
Yeah, Cordero.
It was Cordero and Lemon right then.
Yeah, and then after that.
Charleston was hurt in 12.
Yeah. And then after that,
yeah, I mean, but
you kept building. You kept building guys.
Well, but the thing about it is why I love defense so much, and I think this is different in offense because offense, as a skill position player, you got to have the ball. Like you have to. In order to be successful, running back has to have the ball. I mean, yes, blocking goes, he blocks, but the receiver, they block, but they're going to be noticed for having the ball. On defense, you can affect every play anytime you want to, especially the D-line. I mean, like even if they run away from you, they can run away from you, and I can still hustle, and they make them cut it back, and I still get the tackle.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, like, I mean, it's unlike any other aspect of football. It's on the offensive side of the ball. The defense side of the ball, the defense I can kind of dictate. Yeah, DB, you got to have, the ball's got to be thrown your way, but anywhere else on the field, whether you're a linebacker or D-line, it all technique comes into play. And I think that's one of the best things that you like is you take these raw athletes and you get these kids in there like just raw talented. And like if they trust you a little bit, like my saying, the same move that got you here is probably the same move that's going to get you home. Because if you don't learn to put more tools in your tool belt, you're going to be in the same spot. You're not getting any better. So, I mean, they have to trust you to be able to try those new moves and try to understand. And then you got to make sure you teach them and you coach them on the different levels, auditory, visual, walkthroughs and things like that and hit their learning points. And that's the thing that you and I were discussing with your position group last year about, you got to understand the different players relate to different things. That's why you got to cover the whole umbrella. So you're making sure that you're getting everything and you're touching what they need to do.
Yeah. I was just sitting here thinking, like, if you had a CFL D-line, everybody you coached or played with, who's your top 4? 2 DNs, 2 D tackles.
I mean, I got to say, played with
a coach.
Bowman and Charleston, DNs.
John Bowman and Charleston as DNs. Who's D tackles?
I mean, you still got to do Michael's a load.
Micah Johnson.
Mm-hmm. Michael's a real load. And then, like, I'm just talking about CFL wise, right?
Yeah.
And then inside wise, I mean, besides Micah, I mean, we've had some solid guys there, but no guys that like.
What about Romero?
Dominate a game, huh?
You like Romero? Didn't you play with Romero? Did you play with Romero in Montreal or no?
Who? Dario?
Yeah, Dario Romero.
Yeah, I played with Dario. Yeah, 2 years.
But that's what I'm saying. Do you think he's one of the top four? Who would be the fourth D tackle? Who would be the second D tackle?
Dario would be not because I mean he had great hustle and great motor. He wasn't like he didn't have great technique. Like he had, he's one of those effort guys. He's never gonna get a loaf. He's gonna make a play 25, 30 yards on the field. That was his type. But just as far as like raw natural ability, I mean, Khalif had some talent. Mitchell, I didn't have him that long.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's some real talent in there.
His arm so long.
Yeah. I mean,
Khalif could have played left tackle and made a lot of money and played a long time.
Well, I mean, he could have still be playing if he keep his mouth closed, understand what he was doing. I was like, man. And look, I know he's a pirate. We got to stick together. But I was like, no, this man didn't. Yep, and yeah, he did. But, I mean, what about you Okay, how about this? Who's the best running back you ever played with?
Best running back or receiver?
Best running back you ever played with. Because you played with 2 Hall of Famers, so a lot of people can't say that.
I played with a lot of great running backs. Because you think just like Cornish, Joff, Tyrell Sutton, Brandon Rutley.
And you played with
Wes Cates. Ken Simonton, Demetrius Summers. Demetrius Summers was number 1 over Reggie Bush coming out of high school.
Yeah.
Right. Tony Stallings. I still think the best one is Joff. I think Joffrey's the best running back. Joffrey knew so much, and I think what helped Joff out a lot was the trust of his O-line. I don't think Cornish ever really trusted his O-line. That's why he got to the line a lot of times and got stuck and then tried to bounce or try to cut back late. There wasn't ever any trust with Cornish. And I think that's one.
Well, how do you get 1,500 yards if you don't have trust, Nick?
Man, Cornish got 1,509 games. Cornish is uber talented. Like we're taking talent wise.
Oh no! I didn't say
talent. No, I know, but that's what I'm saying. Talent, like Cornish is super talented, and he had a gear. Like he had a gear. Nobody even seen that gear until 3 years in.
Yeah.
Right.
He does have a top end.
2009, 2010, you start to say, "Oh, okay, this dude's got a gear, and he's a bigger back."
Talked to Cornish today. We're going. We're meeting for lunch on Wednesday.
Yeah, he just messaged me, but no, like I just think, I think Joffrey, his style, he wasn't a home run hitter. He could break long runs, 30, 40-yard runs. Wasn't a home run hitter, but he gave you everything as a complete back.
And he's the only person that we know that will eat a Wendy's cheeseburger and fries and a Coke before the game.
For the game. Double quarter pounder, supersized fries, supersized Coke, and sit there 2 hours before the game, eat all that, get up, put his stuff on,
and go run for 200.
Like it ain't nothing.
I was like, what?
Dude, he had like 690 yards in the last 5 games in 2004 on a 4-14 team when he came in for like the last 5 or 6 games.
I was just
like 190. He put up like 190 in what was it, like 190 against Toronto.
Dude, that's how I met him. That's how I knew him when I came up. How we all got together was that I knew Joffrey because I was the assistant D-line coach on the Ryan Fire when he was a running back.
Oh, okay.
And and I was a guest. I was volunteer coaching, because I'm in the league trying to get the coaching experience. And then so when I came up here and he was here, then that's when Jones gave me his number, and that's when I met you and him at the Keg, and my life has been downhill ever since.
It's only gotten better. But I'll tell you, I think the best receiver I ever played with was Kenyon.
Rambo Lambo.
He only had 1 year where he put it all together, and he looked like he was going to be his second year doing it when Big Hill Horse called him towards ACL. And then he had the arthritis in his Achilles and stuff that hampered him. But a guy that could run a 4.240, could run every route in the playbook. We used to go 4x1 and just single Rambo up, or 3x2 and put a tight end over there and then give him the motion, single him up. Like, you couldn't stop it. That's the reason the backside half started staying on the backside.
I'll tell you what, any defense you see of mine, you can mark this down. The half ain't leaving.
That's what I used to always tell Bridge that when he was playing for SAS, because Mac loves 4x1. I was like, you don't have an advantage in 4x1 if the halfback stays on the backside, because they don't have to even consider the diagonal. Because if there's no diagonal, now he's got a double team over there, and that's a wasted guy. And if the diagonal does come, he's covered.
He's just going to catch it.
You're still playing 4-on-3 because you sent the diagonal away.
Yep.
So now
you're free safety.
That's what I'm saying. Now
you're free going to pass it off to your half. Yep. Mm-hmm.
So you got 4-on-3. So playing 4-on-3 doesn't work.
Well, I mean, and then the craziest part is you still got, even if you try to link it back out, you still got a 3-on-2 if you keep your half backside, because you got your corner, your wheel, and your half. Corner, your wheel, in your half, and now you got your 3-on-2 and you're laughing.
Yeah.
So it's still,
but that's what I'm saying.
You still run anything you want. Your defensive playbook.
You're outnumbered everywhere in 4x1 when the half stays backside.
Yeah, but I like to play with it and send my half backside, because if you got an athletic wheel, you can just bag a corner off and let the wheel jam him and slow the timing off.
Yeah.
That's that New England. When they put that New England, they go 3x1, and New England was out there, they putting, Mayo or whoever out there jamming old boy, and he missed him about 5 times. But if you miss a jam, you still got to restart and stop. Yeah, you got to move to get out the way.
That's a big boy you out there too. You can't just release off him.
Long arms, like he bodied you. So it'll be interesting to see. So do you think CFL is going to get played this year?
I think it comes down to money. I think all of it is money. I think every decision being made is a money decision. I don't think it's anything more or anything less. It's all about money. If the money is there, they're playing. If the money's not there, they're not.
Well, you got to think. Well, my question to you is this, okay? How do you do a personal contract? So we'll just say Nick Lewis contract, and I want your thoughts on this. So Nick Lewis's contract is a $100,000 roster bonus, which players do have, pass, fail, whatever. Do you prorate that if you play half the season? So is it 50? Or what if the player don't sign off on it? Do you have to play him the 100? Or do you cut him because he is a key player to get $100,000 guaranteed, $100,000 pass fail anyway? So he's a good player. You try to contract up. Like, I think those are a lot of things that need to be addressed.
I think you can prorate base, but you can't prorate nothing else. You can't prorate. You could prorate housing. You can,
but it has to be
prorate housing because it's monthly based anyway, right?
But
so
you
can prorate
can
the housing, but
you
I don't think you can prorate that.
But if you did prorate it, it would have to be agreed upon by both parties. Like, you can't just I can't say I owe you 100 and it's half the season, so here's 50.
But that's like saying these guys that are signed since April. And they're like, oh, well, we're going to prorate your signing bonus that you haven't gotten yet.
Yeah, right? But technically, isn't your signing bonus – so say, for example, if I'm giving you 100 and your salary for the year is 200, technically that's 50% of your salary. So if I'm prorating your other player to 50, wouldn't that be only common because you didn't have your salary because you don't have the season? Wouldn't it be common practice to get the 100? That's what I'm saying. I don't think
you can prorate the signing bonus or the roster bonus. Anything monthly you can prorate. Because
my question to you is this, then. So say, for example, Matt Nichols got a $200,000 pass fail.
Yeah.
His salary is $150, so he makes him $350 in the year, and that's how they're doing for the cap purposes and putting more money in his pocket. Season goes halfway. Do you mean to tell me so they're gonna have to pay him the whole $250 plus $75? So he's making more money in a prorated year than he would make in a normal year.
But here's my thing. They're talking about losing potentially $10 million without playing, right? If the government gives them $150 million, that's $90 million. The CFL contracts will equate to about $54 million. You know, I know it's 5.2 a team, but then, you know, we mark in extra players and stuff and all that stuff.
Yeah, injuries.
So you still got to – I still feel like that's – even if you say $55 million, that still puts you at $145 million of the $150 million that you're getting from the government, and that's paying full contracts. This is where I have the issue. It's not about the money. If they're getting it from the government to play football, then everybody should be paid fully, right? I know coaches have taken pay cuts and things like that. I think they should be reimbursed their pay cut if they get the $150 million. And it's just really – it's a really crappy thing.
Oh, I'm not.
That coaches don't have any union, and they really just stand back and just hope and pray that these two can come to sense of something to allow it to go through. Right? I think that's the hard part. If the money's there, everybody should get their money. This should not be a year where the owners just make money. Right?
Well, I mean, technically it'd be a year that some owners finally get to make money because they won't have to be in the red where they're only losing X amount of dollars. But I thought they only get the 190 if the season doesn't get played, right?
Oh, I don't know.
Well, see, because they were asking for initially they were asking for 30 if it was only they missed 4 weeks of the season. I think it was like another number if they missed this, and then if they don't play the complete season, I'm almost certain on this one. They don't play the complete season, then they get 190 or whatever the biggest number that they ask for is if they don't play the complete season. But the irony in the whole thing is that the league made $200 some million revenue last year.
Yeah. And
question,
but if I'm TSN,
I got to put this money if you made $200 million.
And then SAS said they lost 200,000. Yeah, right. If I am TSN,
you got to remember though. Publicly traded company, public teams don't want to make money.
Yeah, they have to spend 90% at least.
Yes, right. So, therefore, that's what gets dicey because now you get teams. You get the three public teams with Winnipeg, Sask, and whoever the third one is,
Edmonton.
And Edmonton. You get those teams. And where they're public, they have to have their books be transparent. Whereas a private team like, you know, Calgary or BC can go and they pull their coaches in the office and say, you're going to take this pay cut or you're not here. Where public, it has to be public knowledge because you can see the books.
Yeah.
So, I mean, then how do you police that? Like, I mean, it's just so unfair because you don't have a union with a unionized standard of practice.
Every team is different. Every team has different medical. Every team has different standards. Every team has different this, that, and the third. Like, that's the hard part. The Yankees pay like 12 other teams like 40% of their contracts.
Yes.
They're doing this to keep them in the league. So they pay them enough to stay in the league, but not enough that they can compete with them really. Like the Royals, they pay their contracts, but the Royals have to build through scouting and through their farm systems, right? So it takes them – it's a 10-year process for these teams to be competitive. And you see the Brewers are competitive, but it's only like 2 years because then the guys that are really good –
getting that check.
Going to get that check somewhere else. Exactly. Exactly. That's why I see the CFL has to go to something to where everybody in the league has to share revenue. I would say this, and if I had the money, I would do it. There'd be one owner in the East and one owner in the West. And they would own the East and the West. And then they don't need to split that much. So then all the revenue goes to those two people. right? Having 9 owners for 9 teams is ridiculous because now everyone needs to make money. And I mean, you can still keep SAS, Edmonton, and Winnipeg as that. So now you have 2 people owning 3 teams each. And now, even if they profit $1 million off this team, they're not going to lose over that on the other 2 teams.
Yeah, but isn't that what's the difference in a team profiting $1 million, i.e., SAS and Calgary profiting $50,000? It'd still be the same if I own all 3 teams. I'm still going to have a director. I'm still going to have the director's job of business is still going to be to make money. So he's still going to handle it like that. So, like, even though you have one owner, like, for example, when Braley owned 2 teams, when he owned the 2 teams, the 2 teams still –
he was owning 2 teams that didn't have a chance to make money.
Yeah, but my point of what I'm saying is that no matter what, the teams are still – because they're under one umbrella, you're still going – that's just like saying that the Raptors are cool. The Raptors are cool with the Blue Jays not making no money. Or, you know what I mean? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, not really if you're still owned by the same team because every entity still has individual hires that need to be profitable or successful to keep their jobs, i.e.
But, you know, I'm a firm believer that they dump losses into the CFL as well, just like they put COVID case numbers on shot victims and things like that. I believe that there's owners that use it as tax break instead of using it as –
Why 100% they do. That would be one of the main reasons that they are owning a team.
That's what I'm saying. So they use it as a tax break, not as a really – I don't need to make money.
You also got your foundation.
I don't need to make the money because I'm already making money. But I can make more money in this business as long as I'm losing a little bit in this business. Don't want to lose too much because then it's not worth it.
Correct. Yeah, you're right.
So then players can't get more money because they don't want to make more money. They have no incentive to make more money.
Name a player that don't want to make more money.
No, I'm saying the owners have no incentive to make more money in the league revenue. So they're like, well, we're losing money, so how can we pay you more money? But at the same time, they're losing money and taking tax as a tax break to help out their other businesses so they can get more money coming back to them.
Correct.
They're winning on the back end. The players are never going to win on this model.
But even if you change to revenue sharing, which a lot of people has been floating that around, the biggest problem that I have in revenue sharing is that you have a salary cap already.
Yeah.
So it's an equal playing field. I mean, it's not. I mean, Toronto's the largest market with the worst attendance. How do you equate that? Like, so how do you make that better? How do you fix it?
You gotta do better with marketing. Like, we know CFL doesn't market. There's no CFL anything outside of the season. There's no marketing in Toronto. There's no marketing in Vancouver. There's no marketing in Montreal. Like, if you play football in the East, it's a total different lifestyle than if you play football in the West.
Yes.
Right? If you play football
unless you play in Hamilton,
Calgary, Winnipeg, yeah, Hamilton's different. Hamilton's like a Western team in the East. But if you play in SAS, Calgary, Edmonton, Winnipeg, like, dude, you really feel like a professional athlete.
You really do. And then when you play in Toronto and Montreal, you feel like, I don't know, Montreal was jumping last year when they started winning.
Yeah, if you start winning in Montreal, they're going to know you.
Yeah.
Right?
But I mean, but also, that's just the a cheaty part about it, too, is that, like, that just goes to show how fair weather those fans are. Like,
but it's more of an event in Montreal.
Right.
It's a beautiful day on a Saturday.
It's bred here, like it's bred here out west. Out west, it's like you're born with a rider blanket. You have your first game at 5. You have season tickets at 18. You're on the waiting list at 18. You know what I mean? It's totally different. Totally different.
I got one last question for you. Which is harder, playing for Huff or coaching for
Huff? Probably playing for him. Coaching was a breeze. Like, I mean, coach, I mean, he's like me. I mean, I got my pattern and my style after him loosely. Like, I mean, you don't micromanage. You trust the guys to do their job. Like, coaching was, you know, I mean, I'll tell you a funny story, though. Speaking of, like, which was harder, I'm a D-line coach. We second in the league in sacks. We got to get 3 sacks in the last game to lead the league. Now, did I have a bonus to lead the league in sacks in my contract? I don't know. I might have. So, anyway, we're playing Edmonton last game of the season in Edmonton. And the Cats, it's second. Was it second? No. 3rd and 1. It's 3rd and 1 and 3rd and 2. So I forget who it was, but one of the D-line jump outside. So you know how Edmonton's sideline, the big sideline like this, right?
Yeah.
So the play was here. No, the play was here. The play was like the 40 going in where they have that sawmill thing is where they got the tarps on the thing.
Yeah.
So like the 40 there. They jump off sides on a hard count. We know they hard counted because they go pump the ball, but they jump off sides. All I hear is, they're trying to get effing sacks. What the hell is going on? Where's DeVone at? I heard her yelling this. But so I'm running the other way. So like the game is going on down here. I hear her yelling, looking for me. I take off running this way. By the time Coach Huff catches up to me, what the hell are they doing? They're trying to get sacks. I was like, yep, I already got them out. As I'm running down, I'm just throwing D linemen in there. Just grabbing them, throwing them in to take the 4 guys out. So by the time Huff caught up to me, I was like, yep, they're already out. Got you. We catching that smoke. But Huff is like your cool grandpa. Like so that authoritative figure where he makes you want to work hard because he works hard. I mean, he's there at 4:30, 5 o'clock before everybody on the regular.
Yeah.
So he makes you want to work hard, and you understand, you see the success that he has because he worked so hard. So like you can always call him and ask him or talk to him about anything. Like even last year in my first year as a head coach, if I had any questions or whatever, any issues arise that I want some advice on, like he was readily available there. But like playing for him, it was different because you didn't really play for him because he was a head coach. So like, your relationship with your head coach is more of putting out fires and that type of thing as a defensive captain than anything else. And then, but as you know, Chris Jones was tough to play for though, the DC. But I love Jones, and he, I use a lot of his stuff in the defense, and my mindset is a lot of things come from him. So, but he was tough to play for. And the reason he was so tough to play for because you just didn't know what you were getting. Like Huff is Huff. Jones is 1 minute he might be cool. I mean, you know him personally as well.
Yeah.
And the next minute he might not be that cool. So it's like it's just trying to find your treading. But once you find that and you understand your boundaries with him, I mean, he was a great coach to work for too. I mean, I've been fortunate enough to be, with some great head coaches and to see it done a multitude of ways. I mean, I've seen Bill Parcells, it's his way or the highway. I've seen him chin check Jerry Jones in front of the whole team. So, and nobody checks Jerry. So, I've seen that happen. So, when you see those coaches and how they handle situations, and that was probably one of the coolest things about when I did get relieved from my duties, the phone calls and the text messages from the who's who of big deals of coaches down south and here and all that stuff, to be able to, to tell me, keep my head up, you need anything, I'm here, and that type of thing.
Yeah. One more. Top 3 coaches you played for. They don't have to be head coaches. They could have been your position coach or a defensive coach.
I mean, guys are like Zim was great. He was a DC. He was a DC in Dallas. He's a good dude.
Who was that?
I like Mike Zimmer. He's the head coach.
Mike Zimmer. Yep.
I like he was a good coach. I mean, I have to put Huff up in there just because of the knowledge and what I understand. I mean, I love Gruden. Dungy, like it was so totally every coach, I think every head coach that I've had, I've tried to take a little bit of it. Like I like the Gruden's fieriness. I love that Dungy's even keel. Like Dungy doesn't get here, he doesn't get there, he's here.
Yeah.
And how he manages uber stressful situations, and you don't see him stress. And that's what, like, I mean, that was crazy because my mom said that on the sideline of a game. She's like, baby, there was a tight point in the game, and you just look so calm and cool. And I was like, well, I learned that from Dungy, and I asked Tony about that. I mean, Coach Dungy about that. And I was like, why do you look so cool? I was like, are you just dying inside? Like, are you panicking inside? He goes, when you look at me and you see I'm cool, what does that make you do? He said, it gives you – I said, it makes me be cool. He said, exactly. So, you understand as everybody's looking at your demeanor, how are you handling this pressure, and that's how you have to understand it. You take even Tressman and his analytical approach to the game and his, boom, 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 and that type, I looked at that part, and that type of thing. I took the X's and O's from a bunch of coaches.
Yeah.
I've been lucky. And probably the most influential coach I would have to say is Rod Marinelli, 100%. He's the D-line coach with the Raiders right now. I would definitely say he's definitely the most influential coach because you can ask any one of my players that knows inside hand save your life. That move has made those guys a lot of money, and I got it from him. And he taught me the things about the D-line and even the D-line as a unit and not in that individuals and working together, rushing together, playing a run together in the system. And the system that he employed there, I took it and brought it to Canada and expounded upon it and made it to the Canadian game in the front. And that's why every year that I've been in this league, I've been able to be upper echelon in sacks.
Yeah.
Because of those things and because of the systems you've been able to implement and those type of things. So I would have to say that Rod is definitely the most influential. But, I've been blessed in that department. Even the position coaches and coordinators, they're head coaches now. So, it's one of those things where you've been fortunate. I got a great mentor circle of things and I just want to be a positive influence on you guys, the younger coaching generation.
Yeah, definitely, man. Definitely that. And I appreciate the ability and the chance to come to BC. I had a blast. I enjoyed it, man. It was definitely a great ride. I enjoyed being a part of the team, being a part of the everyday process. You know what I'm saying? Went to work every day to try to better the situation and give us the best chance to win, man. And I felt like, those last 7 games, we was on their ass. You know what I'm saying?
100%. But, with anything, like, we will ride again and we will be successful. You can believe that.
Yeah. What you got next?
Well, appreciate you having me on, guy.
What's next? Anything next, or what you doing now this year when you're for the year off? You have anything big planned for the year off, or?
Well, I was going to spend a lot of time with my family. I thought I was going to get to spend Stampede for the first time and maybe get the tailgate for the first time, but those look very bleak at this moment. But, I have a few had a few college things in the work. They got shelved because of COVID. And then the NFL, as you know, I had 5 or 6 interviews and those type of things. So, I had some good things in the work there. But, again, because of COVID, you don't know if the season's going to even take place, or if it does, it's going to be this and that. So, I still haven't said officially that I'm not going to coach this year. But, I either do – I might do some TV and radio, which is always an option. So, I got a lot of options to do, but most of the important, I just want to, get myself in. I'm still working on my defensive playbook and my outline of my team and, tweaking the things that I've done over the past year. So when you do get that call again, you're ready for whether it's a D coordinator or whether it's a head coach or whatever, whatever it may be. You just want to just keep helping people and helping growing in the individuals, and that's what you try to do.
You gonna let people know your Twitter so they can follow you?
What is Biscuit 9595?
You don't have an Instagram, do you?
No, man. Instagram is the devil, man. I'm telling you, Instagram is the devil. I sound like my grandma. I sound like your grandma, don't it? Lord, baby, you better get off there, man. That Instagram is the devil.
It's a bunch of hope and dreams.
It
is.
I just don't. I'm just not a fan of showing people what they can't, like living vicariously. Like now people equate success on likes and subscribes and subs and those type of things when it shouldn't be like that. And I feel bad for the kids because you're growing up in a digital age, but like you're basing your self-worth on somebody liking your picture or somebody commenting on like cyberbullying. Like what? Cyberbullying? Like somebody bullied me. What did they tell you? Punch the bully in the face, but you can't do that behind the keyboard. Like, you see what I'm saying? So like, it's so like, this is just a totally different animal these day and age. So like, I mean, that's what you want to try to like, that's why I want to be really getting on that stuff. Cause I just find that it gives you a low self-worth. I mean, get out and volunteer, feed some kids and get back into the community. And that's how you get your worth, not a Photoshop picture when you don't even look like that in a two-piece type thing. So, I mean, it is what it is. I can preach to the choir about things like that. But anyway, we won't have another hour.
Indeed. Well, brother, I appreciate you for coming through. I had a blast. Thank you.
Hey, man, that was long. I mean, shoot, you got to cut that down, but you got to edit that thing?
Nah, we good.